Recording in progress.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, Matt. On your cue, we'll get started, Matt.
You're all set.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm DK Wesley, Justice Resource Council Advisory Council Chair. Today, we're having our April 1st JRAC meeting. Glad you all can make it. I see folks popping in and popping on. I think I've said this for the last two meetings, but hopefully we can be together real soon and we won't have to challenge ourselves with technology much longer. You all should have received the agenda for today, as well as a couple other documents, including the minutes for February and December. So hopefully we'll have a quorum and have the opportunity to adopt those, review and adopt those today. Vanessa, I will wait for you to tell me when we have a quorum. If not, we're gonna move on to the rest of the agenda. Today, we're gonna have some pretty important visitors with us. We have community representative candidates for JRAC. As you all recall, we have a one seat open for our community representation here on the JRAC. And so we wanna get that filled as soon as possible. We also hope to approve our revised bylaws on today. So if no further thoughts on that, we're gonna go to the roll call. And y'all, I am actually in Michigan, and I counted, it snowed 5 times yesterday. So if I have any issues with my reception here, our vice chair will take over, but I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Jasmine Beach Ferrara.
Present.
Pat Freeman.
Here.
Sylvia Clement. Danny Cohen. Judge Thornburg.
Here.
Todd Williams. Sam Sneed.
Here.
Tiffany Hanacho. Donna Roos.
Present.
David Zack. Dustin Dow. Julia Hora.
I'm here.
Suzanne Avett. Rachel Nygaard.
Here.
Deborah Campbell.
Here.
Esther Manheimer.
Here.
Lori Anderson.
Here.
Joseph Hackett.
Here.
And Chief Herbert Blake. All right. Vanessa, do you have a count on the quorum?
We have 13.
All right, we have a quorum. Great, great. Thank you all for being here today. The consent agenda includes the April agenda, as well as the February minutes and the December minutes. You may have gotten 2 documents on yesterday, day before yesterday. One of the documents was the February minutes, and I think it also had December minutes as well, but that was actually an April Fool, since today was April Fool. So hopefully you all were able to review the December and February minutes. Did anybody have any issues with reviewing both sets of minutes? All right, okay. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Jasmine Beach Ferrara.
Thank you. Second?
I second, Ms. Tiffany.
All right, any concerns or questions, discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll go through the roll call quickly here. Jasmine,
Present.
Chief, okay. I, myself, Pat, Freeman, Pat, did I hear you say aye or nay?
Aye.
All right, Judge Thornburg,
Aye.
Sam Snead,
Aye.
Tiffany Hanacho, Donald Ruth,
Aye.
Julia Horrock,
Aye.
Rachel Nygaard,
Approve.
Deborah Campbell,
Aye.
Esther Manheimer,
Aye.
Lori Anderson,
Aye.
and Joseph Hackett. All right, thank you all. The
Hey,
agenda.
DK, I think it would be helpful if everyone muted so we could, it's like a lot of shuffling around happening.
Okay, all right. Can you all mute if you're not speaking?
Yeah, I mean,
No, thank you. I thought that was me with the background noise, but you all are having trouble. Most definitely, if we can mute. Thank you. All right. Okay, so the next item for the agenda is the interviews of our community representation. And I'm going to pass it over to Vice Chair Hackett to facilitate that.
Well, good
Okay.
afternoon. Oh, am I still on mute? Hello. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We have one seat on the JRAC that's available to be filled, and it's set for a community representative. We have folks from the community that have expressed interest, and so each of you has been issued a link that has 2 questions that we'll ask, and you'll be able to score the responses based on the Likert scale in that link. Everyone make sure that you have the link, and if you don't,
And Jay, sorry, just for clarification, the link is in the chat. I just put it there in the chat, and you should be able to click on that to access that scoring sheet.
all right. We had a total of, did we have 9 people show interest? Were there a total of 9?
We did have, we started with 9 applicants. We had a couple withdraw for a variety of reasons. We have 4 that have confirmed for today and 1 who may still be able to join us, but I have not received a confirmation. And we asked them to sign on at 12:45. So we have just a couple minutes before they're going to come into our lobby, hopefully. But we do have 1 applicant who is already in the waiting room and assume she is ready to go whenever we're ready as a group.
Okay, all right. So if the JRAC could please take this time to check that link. Go ahead and click on the link, familiarize yourself with the questions. I'm gonna ask, I'll voice the question, and you all just listen for the answer and judge accordingly. We've allocated about 5 minutes per person. And the idea here is that we'll hear people's authentic responses, that we get to know them. These are folks that are already there in the community. And what we're evaluating for is just who would be best fit to come on to the JRAC and serve alongside all of us. This is a great opportunity for us to get to know people that are citizens and interested in working with Justice Resource Services on the advisory council. But it's also an opportunity for us to learn from people. So let's keep our ears open so that we can hear and learn together.
so can I ask a process question so I understand this form? So it's, you put in the name of the interviewee and then there's 2 questions and then there'll be another interviewee, even though the lines are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, like,
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Yes, so we'll use this form for all of the interviews. You'll stay on that same page and score all of the interviews, and then we'll submit after all of the interviews are complete. And I'll put the name of the applicants in the chat so that you guys can see how they're spelled and enter them into your sheet.
All right. And after we've heard from the interviewees. Then, of course, you will have scored. Then we'll have a little bit of discussion while the numbers are tabulated. While the numbers are being tabulated, we're discussing, and then we come to a decision and we present that for final approval. All of this will happen inside of this meeting. And we're excited to be able to make this decision right now, and really grateful for all the work that went on before we got here in order to bring these candidates before the council. Are there any other questions for me or DK or Natalie? All right, I'm gonna adjust my glasses so I can make sure I can get these questions right.
Okay, are you ready for me to let Lauren into our group?
All right. Okay. My screen may go blank while I read the question. Hello, Lauren.
Yeah, hey, how is everybody?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am visiting some family and my Wi-Fi is iffy, but hopefully everything works out.
All right. Well, like we said in the email, we're grateful that you showed interest in serving alongside us with the JRAC, Just Resource Advisory Council. We're going to ask you just 2 questions, and we just want you to just feel free to share your ideas and perspectives with us. My camera might go off while I'm reading the question. I just want to make sure I read it right.
Okay.
But don't let that throw you off, okay?
Awesome.
All right. All right. Our first question. The justice system is comprised of numerous agencies and decision makers, all of whom have discretion and state granted powers. There's not alignment among all justice partners regarding what approach will best address improvements with the justice system. What do you believe your role is in this council, and how can you contribute to creating a more unified mission and direction?
I think what I would bring to the council personally would be lived experience. I do work as a professional. I am a certified alcohol and drug counselor, and I'm also a peer support specialist with Sunrise in the community. I volunteer at the prisons and the jail. I've been in the Hopes and Voices of Recovery, which was through Buncombe County with Sarah, you know, Sarah from the detention center. So I think that I would just bring kind of a lived experience and be able to bring maybe different perspectives of some of the things that I went through while incarcerated, but also while working in the field and trying to like give back to our community.
All right. Thank you. Now, Lauren, in your experience, what are the challenges faced by members of historically underrepresented groups within the justice system? What are some strategies that you think may better serve these groups?
I mean, I'm honestly, I think just like having the lived experience again, like if you haven't had that experience or you don't have that knowledge or you haven't been through that, like someone like me that looks like me or that like I'll just say I represent the LGBTQ community. I may have had a different experience than say someone else from another culture. So I think again, just like the lived experience, being able to kind of like drop into being there and then also just hearing and working in the field currently, being able to hear what other members are saying that are going through that currently.
All right. Okay. Before we move on, is there any other thing you wanted to share? Those were our 2 questions.
I mean, I can just share a little bit, I guess, just, I'm passionate about this. I'm somebody that has been to prison 5 times and jail in Buncombe County 41 times. I've turned my life around. I'm going on 6 years in October of long-term recovery. I'm a huge advocate, and it's just really a passion of mine to kind of learn from other people who do this, who have had the experience, who care about the community, and yeah, just kind of like grow and just share my experiences and hope that we can all come together for like making stronger communities, like stopping recidivism. And yeah, thanks guys for taking the time to talk to me.
We appreciate it. And thank you again for showing interest and sharing time with us. We do have a few more people that we have to talk to.
Okay.
And so we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, okay?
All right, thanks guys. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
All right. Our next applicant is Julie. Let me make sure I pronounce her name right. Reisendorf?
Yes,
Did I get it?
Julie Reisdorf.
All right. Julie, nice to meet you. How's it going?
Very well, thank you.
That's good. Well, welcome to the Justice Resource Advisory Council. This is our bi-monthly meeting, and we appreciate you showing interest in filling one of the seats on the JRAC for community representative. We only have two questions for you, and we
Okay.
have about 5 minutes for this conversation. So just share with us your ideas, your perspective on these two questions, and then we'll pick up from there. All right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now my screen might go. My screen might change while I'm reading the questions.
Okay.
But let that throw you off. All right. Okay. Julie, the justice system is comprised of numerous agencies and decision makers, all of whom have discretion and state granted powers. There is not alignment among all justice partners regarding which approach will best address improvements with the justice system. So, what do you believe the role is in this council? What do you believe your role is in this council? And how can you contribute to creating a more unified mission and direction?
Real quickly, I have a very strong criminal justice background. I do have a master's degree in criminal justice. I have worked for the court system. I have worked for corrections department, and I used to teach at the Law Enforcement Academy in Florida. To me, the system unfortunately is disjointed, and people fall through the cracks. And to have a council that has all the different parties sitting down at once is really the only way that a city, a county can start to meet the needs of the people. Unfortunately, every problem impacts another area. The homelessness certainly impacts law enforcement. Mental health impacts law enforcement. So unless everybody seated at the table is trying to come up with a broad measure that will incorporate best practices and meet the needs of the community. And I believe I can help. I'm a very good listener. And even though I'm fairly new to Buncombe County, we moved here right during the pandemic. So we spent our first year and a half sitting on the couch with streaming. But I'm very anxious to get involved. We retired here. This is our home, and this is where we want to be involved.
All right. Thank you. All right. Our next question is, in your experience, what are the challenges faced by members of historically underrepresented groups within the justice system? And what are some strategies you think may better serve these groups?
With certain groups that need the system, that are unfortunately processed through the system, don't always have representation in the system. And it's very important that there is no disenfranchised group. The way to do that is to go into the community, sit down in the community, not just behind a desk, and talk to people and find out their perceptions. Their perceptions may not be accurate, but their perceptions are their perceptions. And sometimes that becomes the reality, whether it is reality. And I think by sitting down with different groups and making sure they feel represented is the only way we can start. Very long process. Too many people get left out of the decision making, and the statistics show that there are certain groups that are overrepresented in crime statistics, whether you're looking at drivers that have been pulled over, whether you're talking about arrests for violent crimes, arrests for possession of marijuana, they all have to be treated differently. There's no one way to do it.
All right, thank you, thank you. And our final minute that we have, which is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
Like I said in the beginning, I have a broad background. I think a lot of it starts with law enforcement because that's the first contact people have with the system. I've trained police officers. I've been there so that I understand, I think, a little more of some of the challenges. And hopefully that can bring a little more understanding, because until you have law enforcement on the same page and with enough funding, because all the problems seem to come down to money, whether it's for the homeless, whether it's for mentally ill, whether it's for the police. Unfortunately, the almighty dollar is what controls so much of this.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to answer these questions, interview with us. We do have a couple more people to talk to.
Okay.
So we'll mosey on and you take care.
Thank you so much.
All right now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Our next applicant is Wendy Navarez. Did I pronounce that name right? Hello, Wendy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. Wendy, can you pronounce your last name for us?
Navarez.
Oh, I got it. All right, all right. Wanted to make sure I pronounced it right. All right, well, hi, Wendy. Welcome to the Justice Resource Advisory Council meeting. And thank you for showing interest in serving alongside us on the council. We only have two really quick questions for you, and we have about 5 for this part of the conversation. So I want you to just answer the questions as naturally as you can, sharing your ideas and perspectives with us. And then after that, we'll move on to the next candidate inside our meeting, okay?
Sounds great.
All right. So the justice system is comprised of numerous agencies and decision makers, all of whom have discretion and state granted powers. Now, there's not alignment among all justice partners regarding what approach will best address improvements within the justice system. What do you believe your role is in this council, and how can you contribute to creating a more unified mission and direction?
Yeah. I would say, well, first off, I completely agree that there's no unity across the different justice systems. And so my role would be to have a voice for the community that I am engaged in, and to try to help bring some cohesiveness and consistency, which I think the general public thrive on. And so with the justice system in specifically, clearly with historical precedents has not always been fair with that space of discretion that exists for administrators within the system, which is very hard, to regulate. But I think, government has good intentions of doing the best that they can. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Our next question. In your experience, what are the challenges faced by members of historically underrepresented groups within the justice system? And what are some strategies you think might better serve these groups?
So my personal experience, I have dealt with the justice system personally as a domestic violence survivor. I believe that de-escalation for executing the laws is important. I believe that more training is important. I think a huge step forward for underrepresented populations would be making sure that those voices are heard within the system. So diversity and inclusion. I personally have, for my master's degree, helped Hendersonville create a position to help do just that within all departments of their government. So I feel like that's probably one of the best ways to approach it, is to make sure everybody has a seat at the table and their voices are heard.
All right. Thank you. And in our last minute, is there anything else you wanted to share with us?
Well, I don't know if it's a conflict of interest, but I see Jasmine on here, so I'm a candidate for Congress. So I just want to throw that out there in case that's an issue for anybody, or this, the initiatives that this group has. But I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't a conflict for anyone.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing. And we do have one other candidate that we have to interview. And so we're going to kind of move on. And thank you again for showing interest and taking time to talk with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
All right. Now, our next applicant, let me see. I want to pronounce her name right. Sabria Lundy.
Well, hello.
Hi, Sabria.
How are you doing today, Mr. Haggett?
Doing good. No, I'm just J, just the letter J. All right. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Sabria, yes.
All right. All right. So nice to meet you, and thank you for showing this and joining the Justice Resource Advisory Council. We have just 2 questions and about 5 minutes to engage with you right now. And, we're just trying to get to know your perspectives and, your approach to things. So just feel free to share your answers to these questions, and then we'll kind of move on to discussion, okay?
Sure.
All right. Now, my screen might go dark while I'm reading the question, but don't let that throw you off. All right. So, Sabria, the justice system is comprised of numerous agencies and decision makers, all of whom have discretion and state-granted powers. There is not alignment among all justice partners regarding the best approach. What approach will best address the improvements within the justice system. What do you believe your role is in this council, and how can you contribute to creating a more unified mission and direction?
So as a formerly incarcerated individual that served a considerable length of time in living conditions in Raleigh, North Carolina that were later deemed unfit for animals when they lost their dog program, I feel I have a very unique perspective here. The primary issue which I would seek to address would be the gender disparity between the men's corrections and women's corrections, and the opportunities allotted to them for reentry opportunities as far as work release, study release, and programs of that nature.
All right. All right. Thank you. Our next question. In your experience, what are the challenges faced by members of historically underrepresented groups within the justice system? And what are some strategies you think may better serve these groups?
I mean, to get to a personal level, if we could, take the chance to speak about sentencing disparages, the women of color walking around with natural life sentences for crimes that their white counterparts, even in their own counties, were sentenced to mere years, is a problem that is very near and dear to my heart. These are not faceless opus numbers to me. These are my personal friends. And it's somebody's got to go to bat for them. And if it's up to us, the women who are free out here in the world, to pick up the mantle and speak for those who are not able to speak for themselves.
All right. Well, it's such a short time we have just with these questions, but is there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
No, I really, honestly, I appreciate the opportunity for this interview. Like, I am here to throw all of the caring culture I possess into the fray, because this entire system is out of order and I need to speak to the manager.
All right. Well, thank you, Sabria.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a fantastic day. And again, thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jay. We do have we're going to give them a little time to think about their responses and how to score. We have a couple of other items on the agenda to give you all time to score, and then also to give Natalie and Vanessa time to tabulate. Does anybody have any questions before you score? What we're planning to do, Natalie, let me make sure the fifth person hadn't joined.
No, ma'am. That was all of the applicants.
Okay, so we have 4 applicants. The staff team will tabulate the scores and then present to the body the 2 top scoring folks. And my thought, let me know if you have any concerns with this, is that those 2 folks would be presented to us, and then I'll entertain a motion from the floor who you would like to consider for the position. Of course, entertain a second, and then any discussion on that. And go ahead, Mayor.
I just have a question about whether there's any other description of the position other than community member. Is there anything else that comes with the description of the position than that? Which is fine. Just checking, make sure I didn't miss something about that. You're saying no, Tiffany, no more. Just
Not at
that.
this time. I think if we want to talk about that in our bylaw discussion.
Tiffany, you broke up a little. Did you hear that response? Chairman Hines?
I did. I heard it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. So we'll present those 2 and then entertain a motion from the floor on who you want the body to consider and go from there. We only have 1 seat. We have 4 applicants, and we'd like to consider the top 2 scoring applicants. All right. So the next item is the bylaws. So you all have had the opportunity over the last maybe 4 months to review the current red line for our bylaws. We created these bylaws in 2020 with the expectation that we would review and reconsider it after 2 years. So we're at that point now. If you're looking at the red line, there's not a lot of changes being recommended. The major change is that we just better clarify who can sit in the membership representing the justice system. Previously, the bylaws said very specifically that a person holding a specific seat or office would be able to sit. But we wanted to give some flexibility to our very busy office leads to be able to delegate that responsibility to someone else. So for example, previously it said that the Buncombe County Sheriff would have to sit in the seat. Now it just says Buncombe County Sheriff's Office. So the sheriff, and he's done that, has delegated that to someone else. We wanted to make sure, we felt like that made sense, but to make sure that our bylaws aligned with the practice. So that's a major change. We don't think it necessarily changes the structure, but it definitely changes who can sit on the JRAC. We just wanted to clarify how the 2 community representatives would be appointed. We make a nomination to the Board of Commissioners, and the Board of Commissioners make the final appointment. Over the last 2 years, we've done a significant amount of work around strategic planning for our JRAC, and from that, we've determined that there are three work groups or steering committees that we would want here, and it's the racial equity, community engagement, and of course our behavioral health and justice collaborative. So we wanted to go ahead and codify that in our bylaws. And finally, I think those are the only, those are the only changes, and they're not major changes, not significant changes, but any thoughts or concerns or questions on those edits?
I have a question. I can't hear, so if it echoes, let me know. But we mentioned the standing committees in Article 5, but that section is for steering committee. And if you go to Article, it's 4. It should be 4, steering committee. And then if you go to Article, which should be 6, it states standing committee purpose. Should that be moved?
Yep, as I was reading that, I thought, oh, that's not right. So thank you for that. That should be identified in the standing committee instead of the steering committee. So you'll see, if y'all looking at this, under section 5, there says steering committee, and it lists the racial equity, community engagement, and behavioral health justice collaborative. Those should be listed below in the standing committee, which is, I also said, I think the numbering is off too. So if someone can make note of that, we'll make that correction. Anybody have any concerns about moving that organizationally in the bylaws to more accurately reflect what we're trying to do here? All right, we'll make note of that. Anybody else? All right.
I see a small grammatical correction. When it says membership based on appointment and nomination, we have a bullet for community response to domestic violence. I think we just need to add another one for members, for the community members. And I don't know if Mayor Manheimer wants to be specific about what community representation. I know.
No, I was just trying to make sure we weren't
missing something
already.
Okay.
I'm revealing that I did not review the draft bylaws.
Okay, Tiffany, say that again. Add members to that section.
It just needs to be a bullet, but it's grammatical. And then I guess the question is, do we want to be more specific about community members? I personally don't think so, but.
Does anybody care to propose any criteria for community members, or just keep it open? I think when we first did this, the intent was to keep it pretty open to any Buncombe County resident who found interest or wanted to participate. I see some nods. Okay, we'll keep it open. Anything else on the bylaw? All right. So can I get a motion to approve the bylaws with the stated corrections here?
Hey, whoever's the facilitator, can they mute that phone that ends in 7054? And that's my motion.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Right, duality. Yeah, you can do
I'll
two
second
things
that.
at one time. Thank you. So it's a motion by Mayor Manheimer and then second by Donna Roos. Any discussion? All right. Great. All right, so I'm gonna quickly go down the roll call again. Someone remind me to ask at the end of this meeting when we're gonna get back together. All right, Jasmine,
Aye.
I, myself, Pat,
Aye.
Judge Thornburg,
Aye.
Sam, he may have dropped off. Sam, are you with us? All right,
He's right.
Tiffany,
Aye. I'm sorry.
that's okay. We're gonna get you back in person, Sam. Tiffany, Donald,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Rachel,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Esther,
Aye, sorry.
no problem. Lori,
Aye.
and Jay.
Aye.
All right. Okay, motion passes. So exciting to get our bylaws revised and updated. Okay. So the next item, again, I wanted to give as much time as possible for the team to tabulate the scores or the ratings. So we'll go ahead and see if there are any announcements or office or departmental updates. So anybody that has anything they want to share for the good of the group or for the public, I will mute and let you pop in.
DK, I'm not sure who is aware, but we started collecting ethnicity data through CDE. And we've been doing it the month of March. And so far we've had 526 respondents. And that's about 50% of the people we're coming in contact with. So we're going to keep hammering to get that percentage higher. But I think because it's new, people are a little reticent to respond to the question.
Thank you, Pat. How long is the pilot supposed to last? Is
I
there a
think
time period?
we didn't really set a time period, but I think just for good numbers, we ought to go at least 6 months. That'll put us through the summer activity, and I think that'd be a good, strong number to look at.
Okay. All right, so
Where
we'll
do
plan
we
for you.
evaluating
Go ahead.
in the pilot? I know the goal was to accurately reflect who's coming in and out of custody. So I'm just curious to know, what are we evaluating at the end of the 6 months?
The intent of the endeavor was to be able to identify communities that we might better serve. So just to get some raw numbers and identify groups.
All right, thank you, Pat. Anybody else want to share anything?
DK, I'll share something. You know, our office, Yolanda Fair, has now moved off to the office of the juvenile defender in North Carolina. So she's going to be a regional, she's going to be kind of a regional ear on the ground for juvenile justice in the western part of the state. And I think that's a really good, that's a good role for her in the system. We're hiring a young man named Elliot Spector, who's currently working through a fellowship through Columbia University Law School. We're excited to bring him on board as the new assistant public defender in our office. So we're having a little bit of change, but we really do. I do appreciate the fact that Yolanda's gone over to the juvenile defender's office, and because there is an emphasis, there needs to be a stronger emphasis, particularly in the regions that aren't represented by public defenders for juvenile defense.
Thank you. We'll miss Yolanda. She was very valuable to the group and the work. I think she was the lead or the chair of the racial equity work group for SJC. So we'll definitely beat her, but it sounds like we may cross paths again.
Yeah, DK, she's still in town. So if you want to contact her, she's working out of actually she's in my former office, the Capitol Defender's office. They have space there for an extra desk for the juvenile defender. So she's still in town.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Rachel?
Thanks, DK. You can count on me to bring up funding usually. This is Rachel from Strategic Partnerships Office at the county. And we at Buncombe County Government do have an open process right now for groups to apply for COVID recovery funding. This is federal funding that we've talked about before that started with the American Rescue Plan Act and came down to local government. Our application process is open to nonprofits and public organizations. So that includes most if not all of the different offices we have on the call today. So if you or your partners have an idea for a project that could be funded, there are some priorities that county commissioners have listed that they'd like to see applications as connected to. Criminal justice is not specifically named, but we know that this work is intersectional. So many of the areas that are connected to justice are listed, like projects supporting people who are homeless, projects supporting outcomes related to mental health and or substance use disorders. So buncombecounty.org/recovery funding. If you haven't taken a look, or if you want to refer any community partners to take a look, and the application is open until April 12th. The county has roughly $27 million to allocate through this RFP, this request for proposals. Thank you.
DK, I have a quick issue. I'm sure all of you are aware that the financial obligations are, that's an issue that keeps a lot of folks in our system. And Justice Anita Earl is working with the Supreme Court passed Rule 28, which would require meaningful inquiry as to ability to pay. And there's a new AOC form, which I know Sam's aware of, 415 has been published by the AOC. And it's a lot more streamlined than the inquiry form we had before. And the training will be ongoing with district court and superior court judges to make sure they know about it and that there's meaningful inquiry on the front end. And also it can be used to have a reevaluation after someone comes back into the system or finds out about it at a later date. So it's going to require training of our attorneys and our judges. But this is a big issue, and it's a step forward, and it's meaningful, but it's also more doable and more streamlined. So we need to get that word out.
Yep. Judge Thornburg, we have a meeting with Forward Justice at 3 o'clock. Our office is doing a Zoom meeting, and we're going to discuss some of those issues.
Yeah. Well, it just needs to be the way we do business. And we had the Racial Equity Task Force meeting today, and it's just not known out there. And we have to figure out how unrepresented folks are going to know about this, because we don't want to have to come back after the fact and undo something that should have been done on the front end, because if you're coming back at that point, they've already been in the system when perhaps they might not have had to go through all that to start with. So it's going to be an education process, but it's a big step forward. And when the Supreme Court says this is what we're going to do, that's a big deal.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. So some of you may have attended the Behavioral Health Justice Collaborative meeting that we had, I want to say a week or so ago, where we were starting to have conversations around the opioid settlement here in North Carolina. At that time, we hadn't got word that it had been finalized or a allocation schedule. But since that time, we've received word that we can expect funding to come to Buncombe County, and City of Asheville has an allocation as well in the spring. and as well as the summer. And so the Behavioral Justice Collaborative is a group and an arm of the JRAC. And so we want to utilize that team as a mechanism to start getting community feedback and community engagement around what items or impact areas should be included in our recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the financial plan. Staff is planning to bring a presentation to the Board of Commissioners on April 19th about what that process could look like and get any feedback on them on how they want us to move forward. But we have started collecting information from groups that are already doing the work here in Buncombe County, as well as some of our departments here that have been working on these issues for some time. And so we hope to have a good plan to bring forward, a community focused and driven plan to bring forward to the Board of Commissioners for consideration. So tune in to the April 19th meeting and we will have more information at that time. Does anybody, Jasmine, I don't know if you want to add anything?
Sorry, computer glitch there. No, just I would welcome the opportunity to be in touch with anyone who's particularly interested in that. And we're very excited about what we think will be a sort of robust opportunity for stakeholder and community engagement. And I think also just feeling that the very real urgency of starting to move the first allocation dollars within the structure of the settlement. There's what's called sort of an option A that are defined as high impact strategies. These are evidence-based strategies that are proven to work. And thanks to the work of so many on this call and others in our community, Buncombe County has almost all of those strategies already happening at the community level. And I think we are well positioned to just move resources to increase capacity and pace for some of those strategies that are already at work. We know the new state level overdose data just came out and it's very sobering and certainly a very clear call to action to keep staying as focused as we have been and even more so on responding to this. So I am excited about the next steps. This has been a long time coming. Many twists and turns in the process of actually getting to the settlement being finalized, and exciting that there are new staff members in county leadership who will be helping to lead and coordinate this effort. But again, I'm always happy to be in touch and hear ideas and perspectives from folks who are particularly out in the field and doing frontlines work around this. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Unless you didn't put your hand down.
I just put it back up. Thank you, DK.
Okay.
I was going to just add on to Commissioner Beach-Ferrara's remarks. This is Rachel Nygaard again. I had the opportunity to attend a session earlier this week, a real live in-person gathering of North Carolina counties hosted to talk specifically about opioid settlement funding. And we heard from HHS, Health and Human Services Secretary Kinsley, and the Attorney General Stein, as well as representatives from counties across the state. And Buncombe County was the recipient of a lot of shout outs. A lot of communities are looking to the strategies and practices that we have in place here locally. And so just want to pass along those kudos and feel that we're well poised to move swiftly to put those funds to use here in Buncombe.
All right. Any other updates? If not, I think Natalie is ready to share with us the top two community representative candidates. Go ahead, Natalie.
Great, yeah, so this is based on the cumulative score of both answers. The two applicants that had the highest scores were Lauren Garvey and Julie Breisdorf.
All right, so Lauren and, was it Lori or Lauren? Lori? Lauren, okay, Garvey and Julie Breisdorf. All right, so anybody want to make a motion from one of the two? Or one of the two?
I move that we accept Julie Reisendorf as a member.
I second.
we have a motion and a second for Julie. Any thoughts, discussion?
I wanted to name this as a point. So often the justice professional is here at the meeting as part of their job. Not that their job is not part of their life's work, but it is very refreshing to potentially have somebody on JRAC that has justice information, and it's not just their job. They're doing it on their own time. That seems to me to be like an asset in the community. And I'm excited about just that perspective being on the community side and not necessarily as part of their today's career.
Thanks, Jay, for that perspective. Anyone else? Sam, you lit up. Did you want to share?
Ms. Reisdorf was my first choice, but I really like Lauren too. I wish we could have two members. I mean, they were my two favorite candidates. But I do agree with Jay. I think that she has apparently a passion about this work, and she's worked in it for decades. So I would look forward to having her.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Can y'all hear me? Am I echoing?
We can hear you now. You are echoing, Tiffany. I'll mute. Let's see if that helps.
Sorry, my sound isn't working. Maybe I'll throw the phone out. Okay, so hopefully that helped. I think at some point, and we haven't approved our bylaws yet, but if we could get more folks with lived experience to be a voice, maybe not sitting actually as a seat on JRAC, a standing committee could be like a reentry or a lived experience where we can really, I know we have a community engagement group and that's mixed, but just really figuring out ways to uplift and center those with lived experience to provide feedback and recommendations for this body.
I would echo and agree with that very strongly.
Yeah, this is Donald here. I'd just say the same. I really felt that from Lauren and her short two questions there, that she had experience that you just don't learn from working with the system. She's been in and through the system numerous times that you don't get that perspective unless you've been in her situation. And so I had her slightly above the other candidate because of that. Is a lot of stuff you can learn on our side. There's a whole nother layer when you've been through it as many times as she has.
All right. Well, we can take a vote on Jay's motion. Y'all ready to do that?
Before we do, I wonder if Natalie is willing to share how which was the highest score receiver and how close they were.
Yeah, I'm happy to. They were actually tied, unfortunately, which was funny how that played out. But it really, the last one came in and it evened up the score. I have the breakdown from each question too, if that helps the discussion. But I'm happy to share anything that can help lead that.
Good question, Rachel.
Natalie, what was the per question score, just out of curiosity?
Well, Sam, I said that, and then I looked back at the data. It's also incredibly not helpful. On the first question, they both scored a 49, and on the second question, they both scored a 46, which is pretty phenomenal on a 5-point scale. And I promise, I'm looking at the data. I promise I didn't just copy and paste.
All right, Tiffany, you put something in the chat. Would you like to share or you want me to read it? Okay, Tiffany's comment here is another perspective from community. As a community member, I do not feel Ms. Reisendorf has resided in our community long enough to understand our community. Lauren is more qualified. So is that Tiffany, where'd that come from? Because this is our discussion. I don't want to. Where did that comment come from? From a community member? Okay, all right. So there is a vote on the floor. And so we can go ahead and vote, and if that vote doesn't pass, I will entertain another motion. I wish I could do this.
You went on mute, DK.
Okay, I wish I could do this differently, but we're on virtual. So I'm gonna go down the list again and just say aye or nay. The vote is for Julie at this time. Jasmine?
Nay.
DK? Nay. Pat?
Nay.
All right, Jess Thornburg?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Tiffany?
Aye.
Donald?
Nay.
All right, Julia?
Nay.
I don't think Suzanne is joined. So Rachel?
Nay.
Deborah?
Aye.
Esther?
Aye.
Lori?
Aye.
And Jay?
Aye.
I think I can count in my head, but I'll let the team tell me the votes, please.
So it was 7 in favor, 6 nay.
All right, then the motion passes. So our new community member is Julie Reisdorf. We welcome Julie. We will plan to have a onboarding for Julie and provide her with information. Expect her to be with us at our next JRAC meeting. So thank you all for that.
Okay, is there, based on the question asked and the community comment, is there, do we have permission to create ad hoc committees that a person could, that we could create a committee that has more feedback input from folks with lived experience?
We do. In our current standing committee, I know that the Racial Equity Committee, as well as community engagement, does include community members. It's not just staff or folks working in the system. There are community members on both groups. So I really encourage other folks that are interested in the work. We only have 2 seats. We could have changed our bylaws if we thought about it. But we only have 2 seats for community representatives on the body as a whole. But absolutely, we can encourage folks to reach out to me or anybody on the JRAC if they're interested in participating in any one of those standing committees. So those are open.
Oh, hold on. Did you say we could change our bylaws? Could we do
Yeah,
that?
that's what I was getting ready to say, Jay. I mean,
Well, we just approved them in this meeting, so we could have.
we could have. Can we make an amendment?
Y'all want to go back? Let me see. Where's my attorney? It's a lot of attorneys on here. It may not be administrative law, but we just approved our bylaw. We don't have I don't know. Can we, Vanessa or Natalie? I don't think it's an item on our agenda. We've already passed the bylaws.
Is
I
it
would
a
normally
policy
recommend
about
that
our
we do that.
bylaws?
There's not a policy that says we can't go back to another item and reconsider our bylaw. Do you all want to, let's do this. Let's give it some additional thought. And if we want to reconsider our bylaws at another time, sooner than 2 years, I think we can do that. It feels a little awkward to go back in the same meeting, but does anybody object to going back in the same meeting and reconsidering our bylaws?
But DK, like we don't need to put them in the bylaws right now. Like we established the other 3 committees without the bylaws. Like our bylaws.
I don't think that's what they're asking. They're talking about having more than 2 community representatives.
Well, we went through this with the early childhood committee recently. We did a very exacting review of our bylaws that stretched over several meetings. And I did find that it was helpful to let folks kind of just sit and digest any proposed changes before moving forward with votes. So I'll put on, I would lean towards the ideas come up, maybe at our next meeting, we can revisit it and there might be a motion to amend the bylaws at that point.
Thank you. Anybody have any thoughts on it? I think we're excited about all the good folks we had here today, but give it some thought, and at our next meeting, if you all want to reconsider or amend our bylaws, we'll entertain a motion at that time. Sound good?
Maybe,
Go ahead.
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt, but just a request that maybe making sure that when we follow up with the applicants who are not selected, that they are made aware of those other opportunities to engage. That might be another approach to take.
Yep, we can certainly do that. All right. Let me see what else is on the agenda here. We have public comment. Natalie or Vanessa, do we have anyone waiting to provide public comment?
DK, we're utilizing the public input page, and Tiffany maybe has kept a better eye on it than I have. I've popped back and forth a couple of times. I don't see anything, unless Tiffany, is there something that I'm missing?
There is no public comment on public input right now.
Great, thank you, Max.
All right, thanks, Max. Well, that was the last item on our agenda. If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. 1000 Beach Fire.
Right. Get a second?
Okay.
All right. Any objection to adjournment? All right. Seeing none, I'll see y'all in a couple months. Thank you so much for your participation and engagement today. Have a good one.